What up, everybody? This is Unscripted on the Serato Twitch channel. I'm your host, Matt Perry, aka Cut Corners, and this is what we do every week, every other week, whenever we can, really. And you can tune in on podcasts wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and of course here live right now on Twitch. And I'm really excited about today's guest. As you may know, I'm a big fan of the Houston rap music and music that comes from Houston in general. A lot of people at Serato HQ are too. We all love the sounds of Houston. And today's guest is a Houston legend. He's a founder of the record label Swisher House. He's an incredible DJ and introduced some of Houston's finest rappers to the game, like Slim Thug, Paul Wall, Mike Jones, Chameleonaire, Lil Kiki, and a lot more. Please welcome Michael 5000 Watts to Serato Unscripted. What up, Michael?
Hey,
5000 Watts.
All right.
Good
We
to
got
have
to
you.
put the H's up just because we're in Houston right now, you know?
That's right. I feel you. Good to have you on the show, Michael. Thank you so much for being our guest.
All good, man. Anytime, man.
Hey, so
Anytime.
so I got to get right into it, man. I want to know what's happening in Houston right now, musically speaking.
We got a lot of good talent out here, you know, right now. Travis Scott is phenomenal. We have Megan Thee Stallion out here. Maxo Cream is raising hell out here, you know. So basically, man, we have a whole new crop of people, man, that's just taking the torch and bringing those platinum plaques to the city now, you know. You got Beat King out here, phenomenal producer and artist, and, you know, got a lot of good stuff coming on out here, you know.
Absolutely. Shout out to DJ Mr. Rogers as well, another fantastic Houston producer.
Absolutely.
And it's really cool, man. You got the platinum plaques hanging up right behind you too. That's super dope.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's like, I've been in radio for, almost 2 decades and stuff, Ron. I took a break, man, for about 2 years. And it's crazy, man. The station called me and asked me if I wanted to come back. I'm like, wow, I was planning on retirement, but, I'm bored.
Do you think you'll ever retire from DJing though?
You know what? It maybe for the job of it, maybe, but for the love of it, absolutely not.
Yeah, I feel like music is one of those things that it's a lifelong pursuit, right? It never really ends.
It doesn't, man. I mean, music is therapy, man. When somebody is a musician or something like that, they never leave it. They might, leave the commercial world, but at the end of the day, it's in you. It's a part of your soul.
And it's so cool, man. You've had such an illustrious career, like you just said. 20 years in radio alone.
Yeah, I mean, I did about 20 years of commercial radio.
That's insane, man. Yeah. So you were on KBXX, is that right?
Yeah, I was on KBXX. Yes.
Is that also referred to as the box? Is that right? I'm not from Houston, so forgive me.
Yes. No. You had it correct. It's 97.9 The Box.
Awesome. And so, did you get your start in radio, or was it mixtapes? Or which one came first?
I got my start in mixtapes.
Can you?
And from go ahead.
Sorry, carry on.
And that from that point, I started DJing parties and clubs and all that stuff. But I started off as a mixtape DJ.
I'm really interested in talking to you about mixtapes in particular. I read a really interesting fact where you made your first mixtape at age 14, and by 20, you had paid off your mother's mortgage. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a crazy thing. It was unfortunate. My mom passed when I was 19. So my mom passed when I was 19, and about a year later, I paid the house off.
Wow. That's incredible, man. I mean, that must have been a very devastating loss to lose, a mother or a father at that age. But
yeah,
wow. I mean, you were able to use your skill, your talent, and pay off that mortgage. And I mean, that's incredible. Just an incredible achievement. To be able to make money off mixtapes like that. Can you just tell me about your start making mixtapes? Like how did you get into making mixtapes?
I started off doing it for fun. And I used to like to make remixes for people, and people used to like those remixes I used to make. And one of my friends in middle school, actually, and he asked me, they said, man, could you make me a mixtape? And I did it for him, and it's been rolling ever since.
Wow. Do you still make a lot of mixes? I know I've got one of your mixtapes, actually. I put in a playlist a little earlier. It's one of your tribute mixes to Prince, and it's screwed and chopped by Michael 5000 Watts.
Yeah, man. It's like I'm a big Prince fan, of course. You know, and there's a lot of people. I'm a big Prince fan around there, but I kind of slowed down the last few years on the mixtapes because I've been doing it forever around there. So I've been just venturing into different stuff, you know, just taking a chill, man. Because you know I busted my ass, man, working 24/7, man, all this time and stuff. So nowadays, you know, I'm spending more time with my family and my kids nowadays, you know, because I never
Absolutely.
had a chance to do that in the past when I had the record label, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Business is, it can take a lot of time out of your personal life. But mixtapes are an interesting concept. I think a lot about music being kind of environmental. Like you go to the club, you play certain songs, at a club for the club to get the club fired up. Radio is
Yeah.
another environment. A festival, for example. All these different environments require kind of a different approach to curating the music or the music choices that you make as a DJ.
Yeah.
And I feel like the mixtape is an art, is a real art form, and I don't know if it's fair to say it doesn't get the respect it deserves. It does by certain people, it feels, but like it's very hard for it to find a place in modern media. Like with Spotify and streaming things like that. Podcasts, of course, are one thing, but it's hard to post a mixtape on like a podcasting platform. You've got Mixcloud and you've got things like that, but when you make a mixtape, what's your approach? Like, what are you thinking about? Who are you trying to make the mixtape for?
Basically, man, I still take the classic approach to the mixtape because a lot of people they just drop songs nowadays, right? Basically, mixtapes for a lot of guys, they're like an underground album, right? So it's song after song. For me, I still do the blends. I still mix songs together. I still make mashups. Might do a mega mix here or there. I come from the classic part when the mixtape was actually mixed, where it's one continuous mix. So I still believe in that.
I think that's a really interesting point you bring up there too, because like mixtapes mean different things for different people, right? And like you were just talking about, very much from a DJ perspective, you're doing blends, you're making special versions of songs, you're chopping and screwing them, or you're blending them, mixing them together, and some people look at a mixtape as purely, maybe from like a rapper perspective, where it's more of just like, I'm putting songs that aren't going to be on my album on this, so you can get something between my albums or something like that. But as a DJ, what really excites you when you hear a really good mixtape?
It's the blends, the mashups, and the creativity. Like for me, one of my favorite mixtape DJs is DJ Rectangle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, he's my absolute favorite mixtape DJ. Because he does all that battling and scratching, and does all this unique stuff in his mixtapes that, man, for the basic of where mixtape came from and where I started doing it, that's what he does. I mean, because if you ever listen to one of his mixtapes around there, man, it's like it takes you into space. It takes you somewhere where you have never been before. So and it's pure entertainment, for a DJ. So
Absolutely.
I don't do it like he does it. I tone my stuff down a whole lot more. I just kind of make it smooth and easy because, I do slow down mixes. So it's all about just keeping a smooth vibe there.
And when you do with slowed down mixes and so forth, is a lot of that to cater to the culture of Houston, like the car culture of Houston, like slabs, people driving in cars like slabs and things
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. That's where it started from, because, Houstonians, we're laid back, right? So we were never back in the day like that dancing type vibe for the guys anyway. We're more laid back. Everybody else was just chilling and smoking weed, or if you sip drink, sip drink and you ride, cruise, and listen to the music. You know, we've been having banging systems out here with woofers in it for decades. And that's one thing that we like to do. If you get a nice car around there, you got to put the woofers and the bang in it. And you don't want to be banging something that's 100 beats per minute.
It's really
You want to keep it at a head nodding pace.
it's really cool to hear that. I didn't realize until a much later part of my life what slab stood for, which was slow. Is it slow, low, and banging? Is that the correct term?
Well, when I said slab, I'm actually talking about cars,
Right.
right? For us, the original meaning of a slab is you take a car, right, and you just take it from the ground up. So basically, you get a car, you might actually put the motor on it, paint it. I mean, you get a piece of shit and you create it into some art. You make it beautiful.
And
So that's basically what it is. Slab is like from the ground up.
okay. And I guess a big part of that is getting a good system in there too. Yeah.
You can't do the paint without the system. That just completes it.
That's so cool, man. And I guess that's another thing I noticed a lot about the music from Houston is a real strong R&B influence. And like you're talking about regional differences. And we last week a couple weeks ago we had Track Academics from Oakland on, and we were talking a lot about Bay Area music and the ways that the certain sounds that signify that sound. And it's really interesting to talk about especially American music and music from the regions of America like the South, and specifically Houston, that R&B influence that's in there. It's a lot of not really ballads, but like R&B songs with rapping on top of them. There's a real melodic and really harmonic element to that. Do you know why that is? Would you be able to tell me if there's any perspective that you could give on that?
It's funny that you said that, right? So a lot of the R&B-ish harmonic type music, right? The north side and the south side of Houston, right? We basically were kind of split around there, right? It's two different vibes from that side of town around there, right? So the south side, they used to make a lot of the melodic R&B-ish type, feel good type music. The north siders, we made more aggressive, more forward type music, Like when you hear Still Tippin, it's like some ride and go forward. It's nothing R&B about. It's kind of rugged and raw and forward, and aggressive, So that's the difference between the north side and a lot of south side music,
That's really interesting. I didn't know that at all. But yeah, now that I think about it, yeah, you're right. A lot of the Swisher House stuff is got a bit more bump to it, a bit more aggressive. Lil Kiki Chunk Up the Deuce is one of my favorites. That's a Swisher House record, right?
Yes, it's a Swisher House record. Mr. Lee produced that. Yes.
Yeah. What a great tune. Do you mind if I just pull that up? See if I can pull that up real quick.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because I don't know how many people are familiar with that song that are tuned in right now. But man, that song is just so good. 1 second.
You know what's so crazy? I wish I would have talked to you before I did this right here, because I got a throw bootleg version to that song, man, that I would like to play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, please send that to me if you can at some point. And this is I've got it right here. Let me pull this up real quick. Sorry about that, Michael.
Oh, it's no problem. I'm good. I'm here.
So yeah, I want to pull up Lil Kiki Chunk Up the Deuce. Let me just take that from the top. The question I had for you was, did you do the scratches on this one?
I did the hook on that one.
All right, let's run that from this. It starts off with the scratches, if I'm not mistaken.
You know what this is? Big shout to the original screwed up clip. Rest in peace, DJ Screw.
Cannon.
I chunked up the deuce for the south and the north. Boys talking down and boys wanna hate. I chunked up the deuce for the south and the north. Boys talking down, don't make me feel like a I chunked up the deuce for the south and the north. Boys talking down, I leave them on the streets dead. I chunked up the deuce for the south and the north. Boys talking down, I got them diamonds in my mouth.
Well, it's that grind gripper from Houston, Texas. That bar sipper, that bar no flex. I'm straight up out of that Swisher House where G the ass right out of check. So check the neck, check the wrist. I'm baller status from head to toe. My jewelry shop sell more grills than George Foreman. Baby, now you know that ain't an igloo. That's my watch and that ain't snow. Baby, that's my chain. That's not an ice tray. That's my teeth and that's not a snow cone. That's my rain. That ain't Kool-Aid up in my cup. I stay sipping that purple oil. I stay flipping the slab on foes, cause I'm a hustle till I'm in the soil. My wrist.
So that's Paul Wall setting it off on their first verse, right?
Yeah, that's Paul Wall.
That's interesting. I realize that version is obviously taken from a mixtape, which is very funny. We were just talking about that. Shout out DJ Drama. Um,
That version. I don't know which mixtape. I think Drama did a mixtape for Lil Kiki. You know.
okay, cool. Yeah, it's so cool, man. Those scratches that you did on that song and Sitting Sideways and Still Tippin', those are iconic scratches. And I remember when I first heard those beats, heard those tracks, I was thinking, man, scratching at that tempo is gonna be so hard.
Oh no. It's because at the end of the day, we like slow down music around there, so it's nothing for us around here.
But it is yeah, considerably slower than a lot of the music that I was playing at the time. Everything around 90 beats per minute, and I remember thinking it sounds so good on at that tempo, like that those scratches that you were doing just sounded so great. With the way you were chopping up the vocals too was just so different than all the other scratches that we'd heard at the time, whether it was from Primo or Pete Rock or whoever else was doing it on rap records at that time. And it just gave it such an interesting sound, man.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think it created something totally different, man. Because at that point, around there with Still Tippin' and Chunk Up the Deuce, I think the world started getting used to the whole slow down and chop music era around there. So to be able to bring that to the mainstream, I think that was really awesome back then.
It really was. I mean, it really had such a huge impact on myself and a lot of other people that I know, that were obviously not from Houston. And
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that because that was really a moment where a lot of us actually got introduced to Houston music from Houston for the first time. And I'm really interested in hearing about that from your perspective because you're probably a little older than I am, and you grew up around that music.
Yeah.
So shout out the Ghetto Boys. They were probably the first group that kind of put Houston on the map in the rap world. Would you say?
Yeah, Rap-A-Lot was like the first label to really start putting Houston music and Houston artists on the map, man. So shout out to Rap-A-Lot,
And it's cool seeing Jay Prince still being an important figure in today's music industry, uniting people like Kanye West and Drake recently.
Absolutely. That man is a powerhouse around there, man. Jay Prince is, responsible for a lot of us getting our, break and he showed a lot of people from Houston the independent way, because the majority of the artists that came from Houston, they came out on independent labels and stuff. A lot of us did our own thing before we went commercial,
That's
like even Swishahouse, man. Those guys was on the street for years before, Warner Brothers and Atlantic and and the other labels started picking them up and Sony,
That's a really interesting perspective. So Jay Prince and Rap-A-Lot Records have always been independent. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Because that is kind of a unique thing in the music industry to be able to remain independent and still have such successful acts and artists. And I mean, also always put it on for Houston. One of my favorite rappers from Houston, Devin the Dude, on Rap-A-Lot Records too. And so your relationship with Jay Prince, he was kind of a mentor to you.
Man, you know what? Jay Prince was responsible for us going mainstream. Actually, he helped us get that deal where we had with Asylum and Warner Brothers.
So he was kind of like he introduced you to the record label.
Yeah. He actually was a big part of making that deal happen.
Wow.
and for Still Tippin' going mainstream and stuff like that. Yeah, he was a big part of that deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you guys still Swisher House. Obviously, you're the founder. Was OG Ron C and yourself created Swisher House?
Yeah, actually, I started it by myself, but Ron C, me and him worked at the radio station together, right? And I kind of just talked him into doing it. He didn't really understand it at first, but I talked him into doing it. I said, hey man, this right here will be a better avenue, for you than the radio station, because I always believed in entrepreneurship and doing my own thing, or building our own business. So I talked Ron into it. So he got into it, and it worked out pretty good for him. So he's still making mixtapes and DJing today.
Absolutely, it's so cool to hear that. Actually, how important was radio for your understanding the music industry?
You know what? I think that's one of the things that helped give Swishahouse and the artists that was involved with us a huge advantage. Because I knew how commercial radio worked, and plus we had a lot of connections with a lot of people in media and things like that, you know. So when it came down to the conventions and stuff like that, we'd take them to the conventions and stuff like that, and they had a real good understanding about the game. They weren't like a bunch of people on the street that didn't understand exactly what was going on because, you know, I taught them a lot of the stuff with media and commercialism, you know.
That's really interesting to hear, man. I think a lot of DJs are wondering, you know, what's, you know, to navigate the music industry, like what's the best routes to go. And I know that a lot of people have actually mentioned in the past, you know, radio is definitely a great introduction to the way the music industry works and you know, how to get songs, how to make songs blow up and to spot new talent. And I mean, I think like one of the things I really look at Swishahouse for doing was really, you know, shining a light on the sound of Houston, artists emerging from Houston at that time. And I think that, I guess, was radio instrumental in you doing that?
Yeah, it had a big part into it because it gave us an extra avenue of exposure, you know, because like for me, I have freedom to play anything I want to on my show, you know, and with the artists that I was putting on, and it wasn't just the artists I had on. I mean, I really helped out a lot of artists out here in the city, you know. So if it was any artist that had talent and I feel like they needed the exposure, I will break their record on my show. So if I go to the club and if I never heard the song before and I see people dancing and singing this record, it is on my show on Sunday night, period.
Oh man, that's love. That's so rad.
Yes. Yes. So I believe in being the one to give that people that give artists that start, you know. A lot of DJs, especially in commercial radio, they will wait until the record gets hot. I don't believe in that. I believe in, if it's something I believe in it, give it a shot.
That's so awesome. That is so awesome. I think that's such a unique approach to, you know, what being a DJ is. You know, I think a lot about kind of the privilege we get as DJs, you know, whether it's to be playing at a party or playing on the radio or even have people buying our mixtapes and to use that platform to, you know, give love and show and support, you know, an emerging artist is such a token of respect and gratitude.
Yes.
Do you feel that it's often a reciprocal arrangement?
Absolutely. You know, because the greater the market, right? The greater the artist, the greater the market, the more value you have as a DJ. You know.
So I mean, I'm thinking of people like Slim Thug, Paul Wall, Chameleonaire, and Lil Kiki. You know, a lot of and Mike Jones, of course. A lot of these artists, you know, they literally shout you out in their songs. You know, like Michael Watts made me hot. You know, and yeah. I think it's so cool to hear that. You know, their success, you know, kind of shines a light back on what you've done. You know, through their foundation, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I guess it's reflected in the plaques behind you as well.
Yeah, man, a lot of work put in, man. You know, I mean, it feels really good to be appreciated for what you do, especially as being a DJ. You know.
And those relationships that you have with those people, they're still strong today with, you know, with people like Slim Thug and Paul Wall and that?
Yeah, man, we're still good today, you know?
That's so cool to hear.
It just, everybody just grew up and everybody has their own independent thing going on nowadays. So, you know, that's the only difference now, you know?
So do you think that, let's just take it back to mixtapes for a second. You know, how important do you think mixtapes or radio for that matter, is important for breaking artists today?
You know what? There are so many avenues into breaking records right now. You know, I think all of it goes hand in hand. You know, the more exposure you get, the hotter your record can get. You know, but you know, nowadays videos are the biggest record breakers right now. You know, majority of the people that break their records through YouTube, right? It's not so mixtape and just pure audio driven now. It's more visually driven nowadays, you know?
It's a really good perspective. I didn't actually think of it like that, but yeah, you're totally right. I think a lot of rappers and artists are, making putting their energy into YouTube and developing those numbers there, which obviously then work really well when you're trying to get a record deal or something and get, you know, funding or whatever for your project.
Yes.
But that's really interesting. So do you think that mixtapes still have like are relevant though, you know, for an artist's cycle, whether they're putting out an album or something like that?
It depends on the artist and the person that's making the mixtape. Of course, if Drama makes it around there, he still has this big huge platform that people are going to listen to around there. So, you know, just a random mixtape, I don't think that has the power that it used to back then. You know, but if somebody has a big platform and a big base that they are connected with, absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Drama because yeah, obviously he's featured on the Tyler the Creator's latest record, "Call Me If You Get Lost," and even Kendrick Lamar on his record "Damn," you know, he incorporated like a host like Kid Capri, you know, obviously another
I was
OG.
really surprised by that. You know?
Were?
I was just surprised that Kid Capri literally hosted his whole album. You know.
But it's kind of cool though. It almost feels like there's an appreciation for that kind of energy, you know, of mixtapes in pop culture. You know, it's obviously not as popular as it once was, but that people still want that, you know, that kind of special hosting energy that you know from that era as well. Yeah,
it's entertainment still. You know, it's still entertainment, man. I don't give a damn what anybody says around there, man. We manipulate a record and it's fucking it's dope around there. It's entertainment. You know, people will never stop looking for entertainment.
Absolutely right, and it's just an interesting approach to it, to putting out music. It's a little different than just making a record track for track. But one of my favorite mixes of yours, live mixes, was actually your Boiler Room set. I've got the link here. I'm gonna try and get it in the chat. Shout out that Boiler Room set, man. That put me onto a lot of cool joints, and that energy in the room was fantastic, man. That looked like a hell of a party. How was it?
That Boiler Room joint, that shit was dope, man. I had a lot of fun with that Boiler Room joint. You know, I got a friend that came in there named DeBando, right? He unfortunately he passed. Rest in peace, DeBando. You know, I you know at that point he had a record out here called "Don't Want to See You with Nothing," right? It was really hot out here in the streets, and I asked him to come do the Boiler Room set, and then I switched the beat on the second verse he was riding. It was the coolest thing in the world, you know.
Yeah, man. I honestly, I remember watching that set and I was like, this is so great that Boiler Room did this. And you guys really did such a great job of highlighting all these incredible, you know, records from Houston and the energy was just everyone showed up and was turning out for it, you know, and yeah, man, this is an incredible vibe. I'm going to link it in the chat a little bit later so people can check it out because it's just so inspirational, man. So yeah, shout out Boiler Room, shout out Michael 5000 Watts on that incredible mix. There is obviously, I really want to talk about, we can't really talk about Houston without talking about DJ Screw and his influence on popular culture. I'm really interested to hear, you know, your perspective of your story, of your relationship and his influence on you.
You know what? I probably wouldn't have started doing Swishahouse if it wasn't for DJ Screw, you know, to be honest with you, you know, because he the one that started the whole slow down movement around there. And it's amazing, man, how strong his influence is in the whole music industry still to the day, you know? Because I'm going to be honest with you, if it wasn't for Screw slowing down music around here, I don't think hip hop would be, a lot of the trap stuff probably wouldn't even emerge, you know? Honestly, I think that trap music, you know, with it being slow, I think that was kind of like derived from people listening to Screw music because the fact that people was not producing hip hop under 90 beats per minute, basically, you know? And back in the day, if it was hip hop, if it was 80 beats per minute, that was considered slow, you know? So before Screw Top music around there, anything hip hop, it was not, you know, it wasn't anything that was 70 beats per minute or slower, period. Name that record.
Yeah, totally. I can. I mean,
you know?
I remember when you started playing a lot of Swishahouse records, I was like, well, this is really slow. I'm going to have to develop a whole set of music that I can play around this tempo and you know, how to navigate that was different. And I mean, it happened again, even like 2012-ish when things got even slower again and down to like 50 beats per minute. And I was like, whoa, like, you know, Rihanna's got, you know, there's big records. Rihanna's got a track out at 50 beats, 55 beats per minute or something. I was like, I don't even know how to mix this. And then, you adapt and you figure it out. But yeah, it's incredible that that tempo, and how it did affect other cities and other cultures. And I was going to ask you, actually, you know, a lot of people talk about the South as like kind of like one, you know, genre almost, and they lump in, you know, Memphis and Houston, and then they, you know, New Orleans, and obviously New Orleans has bounce music, and you know, but Memphis has, you know, 3-6 Mafia and stuff like that. Was there a lot of kind of like cross influence between what was going on in Memphis and Houston?
Absolutely. You know, because, you know, one thing about it, we listen to a lot of 3-6 Mafia type stuff. I'm like Memphis music around it, right? It definitely influenced Swishahouse stuff because we like the forward, aggressive type music, and that's what was coming out of Memphis, is that aggressive, forward type music, you know.
Absolutely, and it was interesting because, you know, one of the first songs I actually got introduced to 3-6 Mafia was sipping on some syrup, and I was thinking, you know, what, that's really a Houston thing, right? Like, you know, sipping on syrup is a Houston thing. So, is that an homage to Houston in a way, or some kind of?
I mean, you know what? I'd rather DJ Paul or Juicy answer that question. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know what their take was on the vibe on that, but I'm pretty sure it was, you know.
Yeah.
And especially with them having Pimp C and Bun B on the record, you know.
That's right, yeah. And Bun B seems to be very active part of, you know, Houston, and they're not. He's not from Houston though. He's outside of Pimp C and Bun B are just outside of Houston, right?
Yeah, they're in Port Arthur, but you know, it's so close to Houston. You know, it's kind of hard to not think of Bun B and Pimp C and not think Houston, because there was such a big influence on our culture. You know, UGK is Houston culture. They made Houston culture. You know, a lot of our Houston culture came from what they created.
That's so cool. It's funny you say that because one of the songs I wanted to talk about too was 25 Lighters. Obviously DJ DMD and Fat Pat, R.I.P. Fat Pat.
Yes.
And that samples UGK too. So is that right? Am I right in saying that? Oh no, that's 8 Ball and MJG, right?
No. That the samples actually that they put under that is actually
I'll Be Sure.
I'll Be Sure.
Yeah.
You know. It's I'll Be Sure.
That's right. So we're gonna run that.
Now, who else used it? I couldn't tell you. You know.
Yeah, actually, I want to talk about that in just a second. So let's just go quickly to a very huge Houston classic, DJ DMD and Fat Pat, 25 Lighters. If you don't know this one, you gotta know it.
Love it, man.
25 lighters on my dresser, yes sir. I got to get paid.
We got 25 lighters on the dresser, yes sir. We got to get paid. I got 25 lighters for my 25 foes. About to break the mic, then break 25 more. About to rip the track with about 25 flows. And I'm dipping like a Mac with about 25 5-carat diamonds in my ring. 25 12s in the trunk, got to bang. Make moves to make a quick 25 mil. Come up so I can knock off big 99 Seville. Got to take me by 25 yellow bones home. Do them bad to make them 25 on home. Call daddy, tell him 25 got to go. DMD them put it down, 25 out the door. Hitting the highway, doing 25 shows. 25 limos, slamming 25 doors. Representing for those holding 25 screws. And I'm a wreck and rip 25 crews with
25 lighters on my dresser, yes sir. I got to get paid.
We got 25 lighters on the dresser, yes sir. Got to get paid.
And what's cool about that, actually, it's cool to hear that they replayed the sample, right? So that bass, man, that really hits a little harder, right?
Yes, it sounds really good. I ain't gonna lie to you. DMD is a phenomenal producer. You know, I don't know if he's still doing production now, but the stuff that he did, man, is classic, man. It's like, it's timeless. You know?
Absolutely.
I think that some R&B record needs to take that exact record, that exact beat, and sing over it. I think it'll be dope.
It's funny you say that. I wanted to pull up the Megan Thee Stallion's track "Big Ol' Freak." When I first heard this, I know it's not the exact same sample, but is it a cover or something? Because the bass line there's something very similar about it. Let's just hear that for a
I
second.
mean, I think it's the same song. Both of them are from Al B. Sure. If it's
Right?
if it's not the exact same song, it's definitely another Al B. Sure song.
Right. Let me just run that for a second.
Make this beat.
If the love is a love right here.
Ay, big old freak, big booty, big old tree. I'ma make him wait for the pussy. Hit it in these big old ski. Ay, feet on the bed. I fuck him up in the head. Suck it, then look in his eyes. Then the next day I might leave him on red. Ay, pop it, daydreaming by how I rock it. He hit my phone with a horse, so I know that me come over and ride it. Shit, I'm on the way. Ride on that dick, I'm like, hey. Usually I like to fuck, but tonight we gon' make love 'cause you pay. Nobody know. I fuck with him on the low. We never show up together, but I text him when I'm ready to go. Hey, I had a couple of shots at the bar. I'm finna play with that dick in the car. I got him swerving and breaking the law. Least when I'm tennis, so nobody saw. Nobody freak like me. Get what you need like me.
So yeah, that's definitely the same bass line, right? It's got to be the same bass line.
Yeah, it's cool, but it just sounds like Megan slowed it down. It sounds like it's like off a screw tape or some shit,
Absolutely. It's so cool. I remember when I heard that, I was just thinking, oh, this is so cool. This is like a continuation, a modernized version of everything. It's just like the legacy keeps going. And what was your first impression of hearing Megan the Stallion?
I mean, it was dope, man. I heard Megan before she ended up making that Big Old Freak, because my homie T. Parrish, he was her personal manager back then, and he had put me on some of her music and shit,
Were you playing a lot of her music, before she broke on the radio or on mixtapes?
No, I started playing her music with Big Old Freak, when it broke on the radio. I was on commercial radio and stuff like that. It's a big record, so I was playing it,
It's so cool, man. I'm really stoked to see someone like Megan Thee Stallion winning right now. She's just she's got so much pizzazz, so much flair. It's like and it's all like the right stuff. She's really representing rap music so well and representing Houston so well. It's really exciting for us to have like a massive star doing that. In my opinion, it must feel great to hear be from Houston and have that.
And you know what? And it's an honor, man, just to see that we had another great female hip hop artist that came from Houston, because it's tough for female artists, but she, her and the team, they broke that whole, they broke through the door with it, because Nicki Minaj, man, dominated it for about a decade before Cardi came in,
Yeah.
She kind of stepped on it for almost a decade, seems like,
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nicki Minaj and Cardi for that matter too. Yeah, I remember when I first heard Nicki Minaj, and she did the one thing that really caught my eye and my ear, and I imagine a lot of us, was that verse she did on Kanye West's Monster. I was just like, as a DJ, I was like, I gotta play this verse. It's got so much energy.
Oh yeah, she brings it, man. I'm telling you, man, Nicki Minaj, man. I'm like, oh my god. That delivery, man, and just like the fun part about listening to Nicki Minaj is just watching her eat the main artist lunch.
Absolutely, and she's got so much character. I think it's something that I really like about the way Kendrick Lamar does things too. Is they almost use they create different personalities and Biggie did that. I think it's a really interesting approach to the way artists approach rapping. If you're just rapping the same voice over and over again, it can kind of get monotonous. But when an artist decides to take their voice and create a different personality or a different persona, it changes up the beat. It creates, it's like a guest first. It's crazy.
Yeah, because with so many people doing it nowadays, man, it can get boring really quickly.
Yeah.
Really quickly.
Yeah. You can't just be good at rapping. You got to be good at rapping and be like a more than just a rapper these days, right?
Absolutely, man. And I think it's cool that people actually can entertain people with their lyrics around it.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite artists right now is Lil Baby, right?
Okay.
He's one of the few artists that could just straight rap, no hook or anything, and and you can be entertained by it.
It's true, man. It's true. Speaking of current artists, actually, there's one artist that has a very, very, very close relationship with Houston. That's not from Houston. He's also from Canada, like myself, and that's no relation in any way. Drake. What was his? Did you ever work with Drake in the early days when he was coming to Houston? I know he's got some kind of very close affiliation with Houston.
I'm gonna tell you it's crazy. I'm trying to think which video it was. I don't know if it was Chunk Up the Deuce. It was one of our early videos that we did, right? And Drake was actually there on the set, and this was before he blew up. You know what I mean? I had no idea who this dude was, you know? And it's crazy, man. And then this dude just turns into this fucking huge fucking megastar, you know?
And he's taken a lot of... Sorry.
Yeah, he's been coming to Houston for a long time, you know?
And he's always shown a lot of love, but he's taken a lot of influence from Houston and put it on the main stage as well, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a great thing for us. And, you know, and the cool thing about it, you know, he does it respectful, you know? I think that's dope, you know, when somebody, you know, does that and does it respectful, you know?
As somebody who grew up in Canada, watching him get so much appreciation and love in Houston, it was fun. It was funny because, you know, Canada it's I think a common thing, but you know, in Canada sometimes people don't expect Americans to like their music, and when you see an artist from Canada doing so well and somewhere like Houston, it makes you like them. It makes you think, what am I missing? Why don't I like this person? And it was a huge cosign for him, I think, in the early days, to have Houston show him so much love and kind of put him on in a lot of ways. And then I feel like after that was when a lot of Canadian, you know, fans started like really embracing him as an artist, as a serious artist, because we all knew him as like this kid on Degrassi, right, on our TV show. So it's really cool to see how Houston actually kind of gave him that cosign that really put him on. You know, it's a huge honor for him, I guess.
Yeah, I think he kind of embraced the culture because, you know, Jay Prince's son actually discovered it.
That's right. I heard that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Is Jay Prince's son also very active in Houston music industry?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, them dudes, man, they the shit out here. You know, they the movers and shakers out here. Absolutely, they are. You know. That's
so awesome. So, speaking of movers and shakers, Swisher House is you know, it's a movement. It's a timeless label. I mean, you got the hoodies. You can, you know what I mean. Like everyone knows about Swisher House. Can you tell me when you started out with Swisher House, what were you trying to do?
You know what? I was just enjoying music. You know, when I started doing Swisher House, man, it just, you know, I just started doing Swisher House because I wanted to make slow down music for the North Side, runner, and I didn't want to call it a school tape. So I called my mixes Swisher mixes. So, and I called my studio the Swishahouse. So that's how I ended up with the name.
And were you just wanted to do mixtapes, or were you hoping to make it into a record label at some point?
I mean, you know, it's crazy. I was already doing mixtapes for years before Swishahouse even existed. And but when we started doing the mixtapes did so well, it kind of grew into a record label. It wasn't a plan for that. It just grew into what it was.
And then with your guidance, with people like Jay Prince, did they help kind of nudge you in the right direction for creating a record label and signing the deal and all that?
You know, he was a big part into us going mainstream with it, yes. You know, but you know, as far as it growing into a record label, it grew into the buzz. You know, grew so strong, and the artists got so big that we had to run a record label with it. You know.
Let's visit the original sample for Still Tippin, because this is actually of a mixtape of yours, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was probably one of the first freestyles that Slim Thug did in my house, you know, and maybe it was the first or second freestyle he ever did in my crib, you know.
Let me just pull that up here for a second. It's the I'm a Ho freestyle.
And it was the name of the original tape that it came from was Rolling Strap, and that was in '98.
Oh wow! And this was
Yeah, that's
recorded
really
at Swisher House?
Yeah, he recorded in my studio. Yeah.
That's so cool. Let's run that real quick. This is the Slim Thug I'm a Hope freestyle. You got it right here. Michael Watts presents Mr. Slim Thug. So let's hear it.
Creepin', look who crawlin', look who ballin' in the mix. The 666 long dicks, them nigga who be sticking your chick. Cause watch me, look the Versace with an 8X on my chest. Big boss belt walker, holding up my starcher down kids. When Slim Thug bought in the club, I'm guaranteed to turn heads. My act in the drop top black to tell these hoes I'm out the stage. Swisher House getting jammed in the boss at all times when I'm flipping. I'm grain gripping, smoking, dipping, still syrup pint sipping. You're tipping on fofo, wrapped in fofo, pimping fo hoes, and I'm packing fofo, waving them out the window, playing my six on the Nintendo, moving bricks, hitting licks, and my tinted up bent up pins. Niggas don't understand me, cause I'm bullhorns on candy, sipping on boy and brandy with a big Glock 9 handy, flossing up your street, shaking your feet with all of my beat. Hoes jaws drop when they see baby Slim in the wooded car seat. Make a trick, thank me. The floss of my boss, how gon' twank to take you 3 days. To count all the rocks in my ring on my pinky. Stand down with Ace Town till the day that I'm dead. It's money, pussy. My life off the stage. Got fat cats, fat bets, and fat stacks of the cash. The youngster looking good when I glide on the glass. Versace shades, holding my braid. Roller blade, gotta stay paid. See Slim and banged up cavalcade. Tossed up tick well, ripped grain on grain. Hopped on 610 and swang up the North Main. I'm having fun off Antoine, turning heads on Homestead. Killer sparked off Lil York, the Gulf Bank is where I head. Dipped and fried off Wayside, looking good off Blackwood. Getting blowed off Greensboro, living back through my hood. This North Side's for real. Popping trunks and pills, making flows that both niggas and these hoes can feel. But niggas still hate me. Some bitches do too. I'm ballin' out of control. So hoes, fuck you. Kill yourself if you don't like me.
So we're talking like a lot of slang here. It's really cool to hear it. If you're not familiar with a lot of the terms he's talking about here, it's really cool to hear him talking about like cars, the culture, and all that. Man, what a classic, and obviously that informed Still Tippin' a lot too, right? Like that verse.
Yes, that's exactly where the hook came from. You know, that was officially a Northside Houston freestyle. So everything that he talked about in that freestyle was all related to the Northside of Houston. You know,
That's so cool, man. It's just there's so much character in that, and just that freestyle and that verse. It's like, man, what a awesome way to capture a time as well. The way, so you're cutting up the 2 tracks there. What tracks are you cutting up there?
Actually, what it was, that was taken from. I had a series called Chopping 'Em Up, and what I would do is every year I'll get all the freestyles that the guys did on the mixtapes, and I'll put them on one mixtape, but I would just blend them and chop them up like that. So, but the original freestyle that he did, it's on Rolling Strapped 98. So if you ever want to hear it without all that chopping and stuff in it, that's what it's on, Rolling Strapped 98.
Okay, fantastic. It's so cool, man. I love that as a DJ. I think that's just so interesting to hear you talking about that. How you'd record it and then you'd re-record it, but you'd chop it up and blend it all together and make a mixtape out of it. And that was the way that so many, this is the only way I've ever heard the song. I've never heard this Rollin' Strap version. And knowing that this is such what I love to talk about on these podcasts, is just talking about like the influence of DJing and how it changed, DJs changed the way we hear music, recontextualize it, and it's just so cool. And it's
shit.
What's up? Did we lose you, Michael Watts? We might have lost Michael for a second. So let's just hold tight. We're going to keep talking about all this great Houston history with Slim Thug and Swisher House, Michael Watts. Just hold tight here for a second, everybody. Let me pull up.
Tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos. Tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos. Tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos. Tipping fofos and I'm packing fofos. I'm still tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos. Tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos. Tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos. Tipping fofos and I'm packing fofos. Now look who creepin', look who crawlin', still ballin' in the mix. It's that 6'6" long dick slim nigga sticking your chick. Pulling tricks, looking slick at all times when I'm flipping. Bar sipping, car dipping, Grant Wood grain gripping. Still tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos, pimpin', fo-hoes, and no packing, blowing on that endo. GameCube, Nintendo, 5% tint, so you can't see up in my window. These niggas don't understand me, cause I'm boss hog on candy. Top down at Maxis with a big Glock 9 handy. Pieced up, creased up, stand dressed to impress. Big boss belt buckle under my Michelin S. Oh, Gucci shades up on my braids when I escalade. When I'm riding spree wheel, sliding like a escapade. I got it made, the big boss of the North. Ain't shit changed, I still represent Swisher House. Tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos. Tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos. Tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos. Tipping fofos and I'm packing fofos. I'm still tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos. Tipping on fofos, wrapped in fofos.
So unfortunately, it looks like Michael Watts. We've lost him as a guest. Got Michael Watts back here. We're back. We're back from the dead. So let's just keep this thing going. We're keeping it live. This is how we're gonna go with it. We're gonna run with it. Thank you for joining us back, Michael.
Oh yeah, now you know we're doing a live broadcast. My phone actually went dead. So.
Oh shit! Thank you for coming back, though, man.
No problem, man.
So we were just I just ran the Still Tippin' track while you were gone, and we were just talking about how great that beat is and how great that song is, and just major love. I wanted to just talk a little bit more about while we got you back here, just the continuing influence of Chopped and Screwed and Swishahouse and the Houston sound on the world.
But before we get into that, I want to talk about the Still Tippin' song, right?
Let's do it.
To tell you about the story about the Still Tippin' song, right? Now, it's crazy. Now, Mike Jones and Slim Thug did not originally rap on that track.
Who was on the track?
It was only Paul Wall on the track at first. I flew Paul Wall and Mike Jones and Slim Thug they actually rapped on a different track, and I flew their vocals onto that.
Oh shit! So you had the acapellas and you just put it on them?
Yeah, I had the acapellas too, because I took the acapellas from another session, right? And I didn't really like the beat that they originally did it on, and I put it on that beat.
Wow! And what did they say when they heard it?
Oh, it was mind blown, you know. That's one thing I did with a lot of their freestyles and stuff like that. A lot of the things that you heard them rap over, right? They didn't originally rap over those tracks, you know. I would fly the vocals over to that, you know.
Because I guess you had the sessions and so forth from other tracks, yeah.
Yeah, because I like stuff that's you know, if I like stuff that gives a vibe to it, you know. Sometimes, man, obviously, if you heard the original version of that Still Tippin' track around there, right? The vibe is completely different, you know. But it sounded so much better on that track.
Yeah, man. I mean, it sounds perfect. It's so awesome. And I mean, that song is an anthem. You know what I mean? Like, it's a timeless classic. You even hear people freestyling on it these days, and you know, it's just like one of those tracks that's like, it's just such a banger. You know, it ignites the club. It's a classic. It's such an incredible part of pop culture history. You know.
And I'm gonna tell you what's so gangster about that track, right? when we first let Mike Jones hear it, they couldn't feel the track. They didn't like the track.
No.
But of course, the track didn't have the hook or anything on it, right? But they didn't like the track, you know.
And of course, the hook is you scratching the hook. So you got the where is that sample from?
The sample?
Yeah.
When I did the hook, that's from Rolling Strap.
Okay, that's from I'm a
that Slim Thug sample that I'm doing in the hook.
That's right.
Yeah, Rolling Strap '98. That's where that's exactly where it came from.
And so you had those tracks. Did you have them pressed on wax? Because this is all pre-Serato, right? Or was this at the same time?
No. I did that with CDJs.
Ah.
Well, that's when CDJs first came out.
Wow.
I'm telling you, man, I was fucking their ass up on the radio. I'm telling you, because back then, you know, I was taking and cutting a lot of stuff before, you know, all the records came on CD. In the CD era, right? All the hot shit came on CDs first before the vinyl came out, right?
Yep.
You can always get on CDs first. So I was cutting up the CDs first, and everybody they waited for the vinyl, you know.
So when Serato came along, you jumped on that because it was similar to what you were doing with the vinyl.
Yeah, I jumped on Serato because I'm trying to think who talked me into doing Green Lantern.
Oh, shout out Green Lantern.
Doing Serato, right? Green Lantern talked me into doing Serato.
Oh, we got to get Green Lantern on here, man. We're gonna have to talk to him about that. Actually, that's so cool. Big shout out Green Lantern. We love that guy. That's love, man. That's super cool. Yeah. Because you know Houston is really cool. From as a Serato employee, I've been to Houston a couple times to do workshops and stuff. And I got to show a lot of love to Houston. Serato wants to show a lot of love to Houston because we know you guys really use Serato down there. And one of the really interesting things I learned about Houston is a lot of venues don't actually have equipment, so a lot of DJs have to bring their equipment. Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, all DJs bring their own controllers around there because I remember always going to the club and the equipment always been fucked up.
Yeah,
the fader is broken or is bleeding or the turntables weren't calibrated or whatever and the equipment was always fucked up. So I was one of those type of people. Before that, I always brought my own shit,
That's so cool, man. And shout out the homies Vin at Mega DJ Center. In fact, I think we did a workshop, and I think you even came to one of them. And I was like, oh, snap. Michael 5000 Watts was here. That's so dope. We came to Houston. We did a workshop, and Michael 5000 Watts was here. That's a success to me. So, yeah, shout out Mega DJ Center for always showing love. And thanks, Michael, for showing up to that workshop many years ago.
Absolutely. It's crazy, man. When we're talking about Serato, right, I put a lot of the DJs on Serato back then. So the year I got Serato, I was like the first person on the air with Serato. So what I did, a lot of my close DJ friends I was good with, I literally went and bought all of them Serato for Christmas.
Wow.
I bought all of them the program for Christmas, right? And a lot of them didn't use it until at least a year after I gave it to them, after they got hip to it. And, back then, man, people talking about, man, you're cheating, you're doing this, doing that, this is not right, And I'm like, man, I was telling my friend Rob G, I'm like, hey, man, look, you can keep packing those pounds of back-breaking wax, or you can get on the Serato.
Yeah, man, I feel ya. It's cool too, man. Shout out Chameleonaire. He's also a very forward technology forward guy too. He seems to be investing a lot in business and tech outside of his rap career too. And he was also, also Swisher House and Chameleonaire were also really doing cool things with the internet at that time in the early 2000s. That was really different from a lot of other places. It's interesting how Houston always been on the forefront of technology as well.
It's crazy, man. Like, Chameleonaire was like one of those type of people, man. He had a blog site way before all hip-hop and all that stuff even existed. Chameleonaire.com?
Yeah.
Man, he's always been ahead of his time, man.
It's cool, man. Because, Texas, from what I know, is like the original Silicon Valley. A lot of people moved to Texas for, that industry, the computer industry, making computers, Texas Instruments and so forth. A lot of the computer world was based out of Houston. Much like the automotive industry is now and so forth. And of course NASA, that's really pushing some technological limits there as well.
You know, it's so crazy. Don't you know? I just never thought about that until you just now said it. You're absolutely right. You know.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, right? Um, so what else we got here? I wanted to just quickly touch on the influence of Houston music around the world. And one of the things specifically that you did that I thought was really interesting is you did a remix for a Scottish artist called Rusty, who was an EDM artist. Can you tell me how did you link up with Rusty?
I think he hit me on I think he hit me on Facebook. I think he hit me on some kind of social media. I think it was Facebook if I'm not mistaken, you know? And you know, I'm always up for the challenge. So, you know, I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I do it. I love doing different stuff, you know?
That's awesome.
I love doing different stuff.
Let me just quickly play that. I feel like it's not often we get to kind of show how, like, you know, an originator like yourself is linked to the EDM world in a really natural way. And Rusty, it's cool because, like, obviously Rusty, Lucky Me and Hudson Mohawk, a lot of those people have made a lot of rap music. You know, I know Rusty's worked with Danny Brown and you know, he's on the same record label as Hudson Mohawk and Lunas and stuff. So it's really cool that, you know, they're obviously artists that have a lot of love and respect for, you know, music from Houston, rap music, even if they're not from, you know, rap-centric places, and they're known for, you know, more EDM stuff. But this is your remix of Dream On for Rusty. So I'm gonna run that right now. Oh, my bad. Let me run that back.
To see me walking towards your face. You can't wait to see me walking towards your face. You can't wait to see me walking towards your face. You won't move an inch till the day.
So yeah, that's Rusty's remix. Michael 5000 Watts remix of Rusty's "Dream On," which is a really interesting marriage of, you know, Houston sounds chopped and screwed by Michael 5000 Watts and EDM coming together. And obviously, you know, EDM has been borrowing a lot from, you know, Houston's sound for a long time, and it's really cool to see that actually, like, come together, you know, organically with you guys working together on that.
Man, that's dope, man. You know, Rusty, man, he's an incredibly dope person, man. His music is, you know, really dope. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I love this shit, you know?
And it's cool.
You know, his music is phenomenal, man. You know, I love his music, you know?
Me too, man. I mean, a lot of us at Serato HQ, we really bump that music as well. And I think it's really cool that, you know, you can like all sorts of different music. You don't have to like just one thing. And it's cool to hear how those things sometimes cross over, just out of circumstance. But one of the things that's also been has come up as an extension of chopped and screwed music is this new trend called slowed and reverb. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I heard about slowed reverb. I listened to it before. You know,
what's your take on it?
you know what? Everybody has a vibe that they want to elevate to and change it on it. You know what I mean? To me, it's just like I like to add different stuff to it. Me just personally, you know what I mean? But it's just like with the slowed and verb, it's just like they don't really do anything. They just slow it down and add a reverb to it.
Right.
It's just slow down and verb. That's it. Slowed and verb. That's it. And I love to hear people. I love to hear stuff with a different element to it. You know what I mean? Like I like mashup. I like real DJ stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too, man. Yeah, it's.
I don't think it's nearby as creative as the stuff that I do.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing you'd hope to see, right? Is somebody take something that you've done and then really improve upon it or innovate more with it, right?
Yeah, I want to hear somebody do something that I've never ever heard before. It's just like, okay, of course, Screw started doing the slow down music in Houston, right? But when you heard Swishahouse stuff, if you was a Screw fan, you obviously know there are things that I'm doing with this music that is totally different from what Screw was doing, Because if I did exactly what Screw was doing around there or doing less than that, Swishahouse would have never took off, you know?
And that's the important thing about being a DJ is having your thing as well, like making it your own in a way. Is that right?
Absolutely. Because us as DJ, man, of course, we all, we all blend. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We all mix. A lot of us break records around there, but the thing that makes you stand out is when you do something that's innovative, that's creative.
Yep.
Like let's go back to the whole thing of slow down and chop music around there, right? Besides Rusty stuff, right? I actually did Korn's album.
I did not know this. You did Korn's?
Yeah.
You, really?
Yeah, I did Korn's album. The album with Coming Undone on it. I chopped up the whole album for him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then you remember the group called Teriyaki Boys? Have you heard of them?
Yeah, from Japan.
Yeah. I chopped up their album too.
Wow. Yo, I gotta find that somewhere, man. Shout out to Nigo and Pharrell. That's like the BBC crew, right? That's all associated with Nigo out in Japan. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's so cool, man. Yeah, is that anywhere
the
online?
Album was, huh?
Is that remix album anywhere online?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking for it. Because a lot of the stuff I had back then, I don't have it anymore. But it's like, because I moved. But I did do it, man. It's so crazy, man. The whole album is in Japanese, man, and I chopped it up.
That's so cool, man.
And it's kind of. And it's crazy. I just did a project for a guy in Italy,
What's the project in Italy? Did you as an artist that we might know?
Oh my goodness! I wish I could think of his name. I just did it last year, and it's eating me alive right now.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll check it out. We can always find out later, but yeah, it's so cool that the Houston has gone around the world. You've brought the sound and remixed Japan to Italy to Scotland. It's kind of wild.
It is wild, man. But it's just amazing, man, how much the whole slow down and chop genre has grown.
Absolutely.
Even with the slowed and verb, man, it's just amazing, man, how all this stuff just grows and it keeps going.
Yeah, and like TikTok obviously is taking it and talking about it and doing things with it and yeah, it's got another life there as well.
Yeah, man. You hear a lot of mainstream artists, they're adding, screwed and chopped elements to a lot of their records,
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, I think a lot of people were talking about how recently A$AP Rocky put out a documentary, and they talked a lot about how the music that they did wasn't at all really traditionally a New York sound. They took so much influence from Houston and chopped and screwed music, and then brought that sound and mixed it with this New York, Harlem kind of vibe, and that's how they got their sound essentially. But it's obviously indebted to the sounds of Houston and the South.
Yeah, it's dope, man. It's dope, man.
It really is, man. And there's this new genre that's really popular on YouTube. Similar to Slowed and Reverb, called funk. And there's a really cool artist called Ryan Celsius. I don't know if you've heard of him. I'm gonna send you a link. But his channel, they play. It's a lot of heavy Houston influence, and then obviously the 3-6 Memphis, Tommy Wright III, all these kind of artists really influenced that sound, and all those producers are in Russia and England and all over the world. It's remarkable how far that that influence has gone. It's incredible, man.
That's crazy, man. It's crazy, man. I love hearing different stuff.
Yeah, I definitely got to see
hear
that. Yeah, I'm gonna try and pull it up and throw it in the chat right now, because you definitely got to hear this dude, Ryan Celsius. He's crazy, man. And again, we all listen to this kind of stuff at Serato HQ. Shout out to the homies at Serato, because they put me onto this. His stuff is called Trappin' in Japan. It's called Funk. I'm gonna share it in the chat right now. And he's really cool. He's a really cool dude. He's friends with people like Flying Lotus and all these guys, all these producers as well. So I put that in the chat. I'm gonna send it to you as well, Michael Watts.
That's what's up.
But a couple other questions I got for you. One of the most important questions that we ask all of our guests on this show that I really want to get from you is, what does the power of music mean to you?
The power of music is my therapy, man. It's a part of my soul, man. Without music, there's no me. Music is part of my DNA, man. I can't live without it. Music makes the world go round, and this damn show makes me work. It's part of my heart. That's my heart is music.
That's so awesome, man. Big love to to everything that you've done too, and it's like your story about paying off your mom's house, off making mixtapes, I think is like a perfect example that summarizes what you just said too. It motivates you. It what keeps you going. It's really put a roof over your head. In a lot of ways, or kept a roof over your head too.
Yeah,
that's so cool, man.
I'm gonna tell you what's so crazy about it, right? My mom, my parents did not believe in what I was doing. It was so funny, man. Like my parents and the police actually thought I was a drug dealer.
Oh no! From selling mixtapes?
Yeah, they did. That's what type of buzz I had.
Damn.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's crazy that mixtapes are the culture of that selling mixtapes like that. People could feel about how people could feel some kind of way about that. Like. That's crazy. I mean, it's just sharing music. It's sharing, the energy, the love of music. It's what it is.
Yeah, people could feel it. When it's something like that's great art, people could feel it.
Absolutely. And then you said your parents didn't believe in you doing music, but were they a musical family? Did either of your parents play music?
My parents were not a musical family at all. They were like. Go get a job and, get an education and get a job, go to the military or something, just get out the street and, anything, just get a job and pay bills. That's the vibe my parents had,
So who were the musical people that really, were mentors to you, as a DJ, for example?
I got a great mentor, man. My friend named Lester Pace, he works for Rock Nation now. He was my main mentor. He's the one that he used to DJ. He's way far beyond that now. You know what I mean? But it's he introduced me into commercial radio. He got me into starting selling mixtapes in the retail. At first I was just selling them out of the trunk of my car and stuff. Real big influence in every way in music, man, for me, man. So Lester Pace, man, that's my mentor there.
Shout out Lester Pace, man. It's incredible how we have these key people in our lives that do things for us that. Just usually from the bottom of their heart, they just good friends or people that are in your circle, and they look out for you like that, and they give you these kind of opportunities that you either can take them or leave them, and if you take them, some really great things happen. But they're just so, those people I feel like are so important and often not talked about enough sometimes in the story.
I know, man. And it's very rare, man, when you meet people that care about other people more than themselves, And I took the same principles that he did, and the same love he showed me. I showed that same love to like a lot of the artists that I dealt with,
Yeah. So are you still developing any artists for Swishahouse or otherwise?
You know what? I got a new artist by the name of Highway Yellow. He is the latest person I pulled on. but I don't do it as heavy as I used to. Mainly because my life has changed and my time has changed. So
Yeah. But with Swisher House, what else are you? What are the next things for Swisher House that people can look out for?
you know what? I'm still doing remixes and stuff. I'm still doing production. And I'm going to open up the door opportunities for other people. I just took a break for a couple of years because I really want to raise my family. So I have some more. I have other kids that are adults, and I wasn't there to really raise them because I was so tied up in this stuff. So right now the kids that I'm raising right now, I didn't want that same thing for them. So I can actually kick back a little bit more and have more time with them. So I'm enjoying my family more now.
That's awesome. But is there any other business ventures for Swisher House outside of music?
You know what, man? Everybody smokes weed, so we jumping into that. You know what I mean? So when you think about slow down music, you think about Swishahouse, you think about smoking. So that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. That's cool, man. Yeah, I mean I'm in Canada right now. It's fully legal here. We got dispensaries every corner. It's crazy. And it's all regulated, but people are still able to make money. And in California as well. Is it the same situation in Houston?
Not yet.
Fingers crossed.
Not yet. It's coming. I can't see it not happen because it doesn't make any sense for them not to do it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it seems. It's no one's doing anything stupid out in California off a joint. That's for sure.
So crazy it seemed like a lot of violence kind of calmed down since they legalized it.
Yep. I mean I think that's the idea behind it as well, especially in Canada. Here is the concept is that you make it so people can sell it legally and pay taxes and get insurance and all these other things, and then the criminal element goes away. And I think that makes perfect sense to me.
It does. I mean, weed doesn't hurt anybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Only thing you're gonna do is kill the snack bar. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. If there's one thing I like to ask people too is if there's one thing you could do, go back in time and give yourself some quick advice as a youngster, what would it be?
Get a lawyer. If my thing is like I did a lot of things when I was young, just winging it and not understanding what I was doing and stuff like that. A lot of, ugly mistakes, business mistakes around there. But I wish I would have understood the power of having real legal counsel back then when I was young. But I don't regret it. Honestly, I don't have any true regrets because all your mistakes, that makes you the person that you are.
Well said. I think that you've got to learn from those mistakes, right? You got to kind of have those mistakes and figure out what you did wrong, so you can actually learn from them. Unfortunately, but they make you a better person, right?
Yeah, I don't have any regrets, honestly. That's it.
That's awesome, man. Well, I want to wrap it up around here, but I want to give you an opportunity to shout out anyone that you would like to shout out.
You know what? I just want to shout out to everybody that was ever a fan of any of my work and stuff. I greatly appreciate you guys. To help us expand the culture past Houston around there. I appreciate everybody that's a fan of my work. Also, you can, follow me on social media at DJ Michael Watts, and I'll be having some cool stuff, man, coming up for everybody real soon.
That's awesome. If you're watching right now, you can type in the chat !follow. And it will pull up Michael Watts' Instagram and his website. What is the website?
HellDoneBrokeLoose.com.
HellDoneBrokeLoose.com. Yeah, so check that out. What's on HellDoneBrokeLoose.com actually?
We have a couple of jackets that we put out, and also for DJs, we had some exclusive vinyl for the very first album that I ever put out.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me want to take this conversation offline and see if we can do a Swisher House Serato pressing of some sort down the line.
Oh, that'll be dope. Oh wow, let's do that. Let's make it happen.
Okay, man. Well, I want to wrap it up here, but thank you so much for being our guest today. I'm going to take it out with the motorsport freestyle that you've done with Slim Thug, Dobeezy, Buddy Rowe.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thanks again so much for your time today. Big love to Houston, big love to Swisher House, and big love to Michael 5000 Watts. Thank you again. We'll see you very soon. I'll hit your inbox about this Serato vinyl maybe down the line. We'll try and make that happen.
Let's make it happen.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Peace.
Peace.